mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now.
How's it, guys? Ewan here again. Back tying another fly. Today I'm going to be tying a jackal fur shrimp. It's modeled on quite a basic EP shrimp, but obviously using jackal fur as a substitute for the synthetic. I like to try and substitute natural materials where I can. This fur specifically has great movement in the water. It's got a nice contrast. One bunch of fibers gives you a whole sort of spectrum of hues, which I like, and as I said, the movement's quite cool. So as with most shrimp patterns, a lot of the application is in the tropics for various species. So a shrimp pattern like a crab is extremely versatile. I've used them in estuaries in South Africa and caught a bunch of different species on them. But this will work really well for a trip to the Seychelles, Mexico. I think I haven't tried it yet, but I'm on my way to Farquhar at the end of November, and I think there's a bunch of species that will like this. So again, like I've mentioned in a previous tie, the grunter clouser, this fly can be tied with a range of weights. It's typically fished on a floating line, but can be fished throughout the water column by adjusting your leader length and the weight of your dumbbell eyes. Again, I fish it from very light dumbbell eyes right through to 4 or 5 mil tungsten, depending on where I want to fish in the water column. So in order to tie this fly, you'll need the following. So again, I've gone with a Gamakatsu SL12 number 2. There are a range of options. Again, it's whatever you feel comfortable with. Dumbbell eyes, I've mentioned the weight and how important that is. I've gone with some very simple brass eyes here. You will need some fur. So as I mentioned, I'm using jackal fur. I think Zonka can work nicely. I haven't used it. I've just got a whole bunch of this that I've been using. What I've actually done is just made a little brush to save on some time, which I'll explain when I tie that in. Then you're going to want some shrimp and crab eyes. Your thread, I like to use nano silk. This fly does incorporate quite a few techniques and materials that need to be tied in, so it helps with the bulk. Nano silk. And then you want to go with your legs. Like any shrimp fly, you can mix up the color of your legs. I find in South African waters, I do like the more natural barred legs. I have tied in various other colors. I also like olive. And then some black crystal flash and some regular crystal flash just for feelers. Right, so first things first, we lay a bit of a thread base. You can tie in the dumbbell eyes last. I just prefer to get that done because then I know exactly how much space I've got to work with in tying off the fly. As always with clousers and shrimps, etc., you want the dumbbells on the bottom so the fly rides hook up. Sorry, I'm just backtracking there because unlike a clouser, you don't need to tie anything in front of these dumbbell eyes, so you can actually tie them further back. It's really just there for the weight. Secure them, make sure that those eyes are parallel with the hook. Secure it nicely. Okay, there we go. We can secure it with a little bit of super glue. Right. Okay, so the next step, you want to tie in your shrimp eyes. So you just give them a little bit of a cut to the desired length that you're going to use. So we just try and cut those as close to each other as possible. So you actually don't want these eyes to extend too far back. So I would say sort of, I mean, again, it depends on the hook size, but you'll get a feel for it as you tie these flies. You want the eyes to sort of stick out from under the brush material or the calf tail that you'll tie in, but that seems about right for now. Alright. So you just secure that. Tie those eyes down nice and fast. And what you want to do in order to splay those eyes is you want to get back to the position where you want them secured, and then you put your thread in between the eyes, pull it tight, bend it back a little, do the same on the other side, and that's going to splay those eyes a little bit. What you can just bend it back a little, maybe a bit too much, but they'll self-correct a little bit there. Okay, I'm happy with that. Right, then we're going to put a little bit of super glue to secure those eyes. That's good to go. Okay, the next step, we want to tie in our feelers. So I've got a bit of black crystal flash, and I mean, again, depending on what you're fishing for, you want to be fairly conservative with the flash. So in the tropics, you're unlikely to use much flash at all. Sort of like that. Right, you can adjust the length. I'm just going to cut them like that for now. You might want to go a little bit shorter. Let's finish that off. Okay, so next step, we've got some tan calf tail. So you can see those fibers are quite uniform. To like give a bit of a tapered effect, you want to pull the middle ones forward slightly, so you see like you almost get like a nice little tapered shrimpy effect there. So clean that out a little bit. I've got some not so lacquer pieces. Right, and then we tie that in. Tidy it up a bit there. Calf tail is nice and secure. So what I like to do is just to build a little bit more bulk up front, just to get a little bit more action, is again with the Jackal fur strip. Again, if you're using Zonko or something, try get a piece that's got like some nice rigid like little guard hairs coming out there. I think that's what they're called, just to give a little bit more bulk on top. That's too much. So what I'm going to do is, so the calf tail doesn't have nearly as much action as the Jackal fur or the Zonka, so it does give it a little bit of a nice action and bulks it up at the front a little bit. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that bit of Jackal fur and the bulk it's created there, tied in. What's nice about it is when you tie the loose bit at the back, it folds quite nicely. So just do that. So you can see you've got quite a nice tapered effect there now. You've got thin in the front, a little bit of bulk. There's a bit of contrast with that browner color. I'm just going to trim this off a little bit there. So you want to create a little bit of a bulge before you tie in the legs, so they splay a little bit. So I usually like to use like an orange dubbing, not a fluoro, just a bland orange dubbing. Just gives it like a tiny bit of color, but I don't have any, so I'm just actually taking off some of the dubbing from that Velcro brush and just going to use that. What you want to do is create like a little bit of a speed bump up front here, so that when you tie on your legs, they are a little bit splayed. See, they sort of just splay out to the front a bit there. Again, you can make the legs as long as you like. It does depend on individual preference. It's also quite good to have a little bit of a variety. Right. Okay, so I've tied in my legs. Last step now is to tie in the brush. In the interest of time, I've just made a brush with the jackal fur. So use some of these nice fibers next to the coarse black back fiber. Again, if you're using rabbit sonk or something else, just look for some of the nice longer, I think they're called guard hairs, which really do add to the bugginess of the flower. And then essentially what I'm going to do is just tie it in there like that, tie it back. I'm not even going to add super glue there, it's just this nano silk is really tough and there's no real need to do it, so quite happy with that. And then I'm just going to palmer that brush around like so. What I've got here is a toothbrush with some velcro on the back, just to try and tease out those little furs. Gives it a nice bugginess. This brush is having a little bit of a bad hair day today. As you tie in the brush, you can just tease it out, whatever brush you're using. I mean, obviously if it's EP, it's not as important. I'll do the underside as I get there. Just actually gonna tease it out while it's on the brush here, towards the back of this flower. Right, so we've gone all the way back to the eyes. I'm actually just going to try and pull some of that off so I can get it a bit cleaner in front of the eyes. Like so. The other consideration if you are tying this flower is to add a weed guard. I'm not going to do it here. I also haven't left enough space for that. For the application that I'm going to use this flower for, I don't think it's important, but a weed guard definitely helps. And then you can obviously just finish it off. It's quite nice to sometimes finish it off with like a hot spot, but I'm just going to finish it off because I'm going to use this one in the flats, so I just wanted it quite plain. What we're going to do now is we're going to give it a good brush. It actually, from looking like a bit of a dog's breakfast, gets teased out quite nicely, all those little fibers. When it gets wet, what actually happens is some of that jackal fur will fall back on itself and create a nice little slim profile. If it's too bulky, one can always trim some of those little fibers closer to the eyes. I'm actually just going to trim the front of it slightly, just to make it look a little bit more, just like that. So as you can see, it gives it just like a little bit of a more refined profile, but it's still really baggy.
I'm on a mission now.